afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Real Men of Real Estate hosted by me, your host, Thomas F Chappell Jr. of the Black Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club. I thank you for tuning in for us on another Sunday evening. I really appreciate it. I have my guest here, Briana Prince. Briana, how you doing? And let the people know who you are.
Hello. So my name is Briana Prince. I am a life insurance consultant. I am the founder and CEO of Truleg.
Okay. So now, wanted to get into it. Tell the people who you are, what you're about, and why did you choose to get into insurance?
Okay, so actually I kind of got into the industry by accident. So I was in college at the time just looking for an internship. So when I went into college, I decided to major in psychology. You know, I think that it's interesting how the school system kind of teaches you, you go from preschool all the way through 12th grade, and then you're asked, what do you want to do with your life? Well, right. I was never exposed to anything, but I knew I always liked to help people. So I was like, oh, well, maybe I guess psychology. So that's why I ended up majoring in psychology.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And then by the time I got to my junior year, I was like, I don't want to stay in psychology. Like I knew it wasn't what I wanted to actually go into. I just didn't know what to do. And I liked business. And realistically, when I think about it, I'm like, I don't know how I did not realize to go into business. But anyway, so I ended up meeting with the counselor. The counselor told me it doesn't matter what you actually get your degree in. So I was like, okay, let me go get an internship. And I started interning for a guy who was a broker, a life insurance broker. Started working there and, did not like it actually at first. Back then, this is in 2013, we didn't have things that are super automated now. Everything was still paper. You had to hand dial all the, every phone number. So with people requesting for life insurance information, I'm on the phone, literally hearing the phone ringing all the time. And it was just annoying. It was boring. Didn't like it. And so I never thought I would stay, but I did because when I would actually get someone on the phone, I tried to keep them on the phone. I really did because I just hated hearing the tone, just hearing the ringing of the tone. And so when I would get someone on the phone, I'd keep them on the phone as long as I could.
Oh, so that takes me back to the Wolf of Wall Street when he says, don't get off to the phone until you get what you want. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it was more socialization, but sure, we'll go with that. There was a question that I started asking, which was, what made you decide to get life insurance? Even to this day, it's been almost 10 years, and I still am curious why someone wakes up one day and decides, let me go ahead and start looking for life insurance. And so it was the responses to those answers that made me think, like, wow, this is just so important not to pay attention to. And so it became something that I actually enjoyed, as far as making sure people were protected, because unfortunately, and, when you lose a loved one unexpectedly, the family really goes through it. And so after hearing a lot of different stories about people going through experiences like that, I was like, I just couldn't turn away from it. I'm like, this is the way I can help people. And so then that's how I proceeded into life insurance.
Okay. So let me ask you this. I'm going to take you a little bit back a little bit further. Mm-hmm. Before you got into the insurance game, what type of jobs did you have before you made that decision to go into the real estate game? I mean,
that's a great
insurance
question.
game.
Okay, so my very first job, I started working for Value Wide out in San Jacinto, California.
Hick town called San Francisco.
Oh, stop.
Go ahead.
No, don't talk mess about my city. Yeah, so I started, I think I was 13 when I had my first job over there. I was a freshman in high school. So I started as a scorekeeper for like softball, basketball. I think those are the only two. And then by the time I got to my junior or senior year, I started to do referee. So that was my first job. And then I ended up winning a McDonald's scholarship my senior year and decided to work for McDonald's only for a couple months until it was time for me to go to college at UCR. And then at UCR, I started working at their fleet services department, which I worked there since my I think it was like it was May of 2012 all the way till July of 2015.
See, the reason why I'm asking all this, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm trying to understand, how do you get from going through into psychology to going to insurance? That's where I'm kind of lost.
I'm telling you, that's a whole subject I can really talk about as far as, the school system and how I don't believe that they do a good job with immersing people in different fields, just because, again, like I was saying earlier, I don't think it's really easy for someone to go through preschool all the way to 12th grade and then and then ask, oh, what do you want to do with your life? I have no idea. The common things I knew about was doctors, lawyers, stuff like that.
Okay,
you don't hear about all these other job positions, so it was never a thought to me. No,
Okay.
I was never trained.
So
in that
the
sense.
life of an life insurance agent, what is that like?
What is that like? I guess it depends on how you structure your business. And so I'm assuming that, with any business owner, you actually have to, especially when you're independent in the life insurance industry, you really have to take control of your life because you're self-employed. So you rely on yourself. So it's one of those things where if you don't have like a daily routine that you stick to and follow, you can really fall behind as far as with production and making sure that you're helping people, making money, that sort of thing. So the schedule that I had actually when I first started, I would work excessively. I worked from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., always on the phone. So eventually it got to a point where, we discovered automation, and so instead of hand dialing, I just sat on, it was a 5-9 system is what we used back then, put that on my head and just waited until someone got on the phone, and then I went into my pitch.
Okay, so life insurance, a lot of people understand that we need to have life insurance. Now, tell me, as an investor, how would life insurance play in a role for an investor as far as being able to utilize the finance as part of it?
So, there's a lot of different uses for life insurance in particular. When it comes to investing, there's different types of products out there. You'll hear like permanent life insurance policies that are out there where you can you pay X amount of dollars every single year or every single month, and you can withdraw the money that's in that cash value that's built up, and you can use that policy actually as leverage even with a bank. So, for example, usually with insurance companies, you're charged like 3% interest, whereas if you go get a loan at the bank, you're going to pay a much higher interest rate. And so with the life insurance policy, you do actually have that. And again, it depends on what kind of policy you get. This is actually a really bigger conversation than what I'm going to be able to go through with you. Essentially, what people also have to keep in mind with those policies, you can actually use it as leverage at the bank. So some people will take their policy directly to the bank and say, hey, here's my whole life insurance policy. And let's say it gives you 3%, they'll honor it.
Okay. So explain to me the difference between term and whole life.
So term is going to last you for a certain period of time. So it's good for like temporary needs. So if you're just concerned about, let's say you have a young child at home, you want to make sure that if anything were to happen to you before then essentially they're going to be taken care of. But if you don't care what happens after they're grown, term is perfect for that reason. Whereas whole life is going to last you for the rest of your life. It builds up cash value, and you won't have have to worry about any problems as far as the policy actually expiring on you. As long as you're paying for the policy, it'll be there.
Okay, so for an investor like myself, how would I make it work for me?
It depends on what your ultimate goals are. So essentially, generally with the structure that I think you're probably referring to is more so for the cash value buildup rather than the death benefit.
Correct.
So the way you want to structure the policy is minimize the death benefit and maximize the cash value growth in the policy. So basically, by doing that, what you're doing is, and again, with that particular policy, you're not really getting it so much for the death benefit, although there is a death benefit, of course, in order for it to qualify as a life insurance product. You don't want it to become what's called a MEC or a modified endowment contract, because when that happens, then you'll have to pay taxes and all of that. So in order to keep it as a life insurance contract, there does have to be a life insurance. There is a life insurance component that is attached to it. But for an investor like yourself, yeah, you can use it. For example, let's say you're paying a certain amount every single year into the policy, and you're like, hey, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and make my first annual payment. Let me go ahead and use this policy and use it as a down payment on this investment property over here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and take our first commercial break. We'll be back here with our guest, Briana. We're going to get into her getting into the real estate game. So stay tuned to the Real Men of Real Estate.